If you're the woman who eats organic, you eat clean foods, you don't eat a lot of processed foods, it's rare that you have junk food. You do enjoy that glass of wine. You work out flipping hard. Like, if I were watching you in a group fitness class, because we know you love a group fitness class, you would be front and center giving blood, sweat, and tears. But you still don't have that defined, strong body that you're going after. This is for you. Get in, losers. We're going lifting. Understand that when you are eating healthy foods, they can help you to an extent depending on where you are at. If you're somebody who has not been eating healthy, you have been eating a lot of junk food, you've been overeating a lot of food, and we make a switch to something healthy, is that going to potentially set you up for more success, put you on a stronger pathway to achieving strong and defined? Yeah, probably. But when you have already been eating the clean food and you're wondering, why do I still not have more definition in my arms? It's because it's more nuanced than that. Just because you eat quote unquote healthy foods doesn't mean it's in alignment with building muscle and decreasing body fat. Those are two different things that we're looking at. Both of those things, when the outcome is to have a lower body fat percentage and have your muscle shine through, it's not going to be enough to just eat healthy foods. You have to hit the correct macro splits for that goal. When I bring this up to women, a lot of times what we find out is there is a lack of consuming enough protein, and typically they're eating higher fats and lower carbs. And that just doesn't work for this specific goal. It's not to say this is a bad way of consuming your food. If you feel good, great. But if you're wondering, I'm doing all of this stuff, but I still don't have this body that I've been trying to create, it's because you are not eating the right macronutrient splits. It's funny. I used to think, in order to get more definition, I need more salads, I need more broccoli, I need more chicken. And I have the most defined body I ever have. And I just had a biscotti before this episode. I eat tacos and pretzels, and I have ice cream. I have Ninja Creamy frozen yogurt ice cream, but I do also eat real ice cream. I eat things in moderation, and I eat things in a way where every day I am trying to hit my protein goal. I'm trying to hit my carb goal. I'm trying to hit my fat goal. And quality of food, I think it matters to an extent. I know a lot of people who are super against, overly processed foods. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily my MO. But, most days I'm probably going to have some low-fat Greek yogurt, some chia seeds, some berries, some oats. That's going to be a meal. But you better believe at some point later in the day, there's going to be some chocolate. There's going to be, and not like the healthy chocolate, like fucking Hershey's, because that's what I like. I want a Kit Kat bar, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. But it's a matter of figuring out, what do I need? And there's a balance. What's really cool, something that I didn't realize about being strong and defined, is there is a lot of food freedom. It's almost like playing a game of Tetris, or just having, a budget. And it's making sure that you are doing everything in a way that you are able to achieve the goal that it is you are after. But man, I talk to a lot of women and they're just like, yeah, I eat so clean. And I'm just like, that's your downfall. If you're eating foods that are so, quote unquote clean, and you're not giving yourself those opportunities to eat things that maybe seem kind of scary to you, that could be why you aren't strong and defined. If you are, thinking in your head, I can't have carbs, I can't have pasta. This is going to be a slight pivot. I had a woman who was like, I just can't eat the carbs. And I asked her why. I was like, do you not like carbs? And she was like, I love pasta. And I was like, great. If you want to eat pasta, you can eat pasta. And she said, well, I can't eat pasta because I can't control myself around pasta, because when I make pasta, I need to have a lot of pasta. And I'm just like, okay, well, this doesn't necessarily sound like something that is necessarily food related. Why do you think you can't control yourself around pasta? Personally, I think this has a little bit more to do with mental health and what pasta means to you, and something a little bit deeper there than necessarily anything regarding food. But, I could relate to this. There was a time where I felt like, okay, I can eat more carbs, I can eat more of these things, but I feel like I can't fully control myself. It's interesting, I think a lot of the times we think I just need to know what to do. And sometimes you can have the right strategy. You can be told, yes, you can eat these things. But sometimes the way we are wired, the way we see food, the way certain foods have been presented to us as we've grown up, they can have additional meaning. And sometimes we're just not in a place to go that deep with ourselves and even recognize that. And sometimes, if you start eating something or you don't eat the thing or you're thinking about the thing, you can't control yourself around it. And is that something that, the dietitian is going to tell you, don't do that, do this? I think it's more of a role of understanding why, where does this come from? And maybe you have somebody who can ask those questions, or maybe it's working with somebody from more of a mental health perspective. I had this one client and she was like, yeah, I really want strong and defined, but I really don't think it's going to make that big of a difference if I eat enough protein or not. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's see how much progress you make. And then eventually she got on board and she started eating enough protein, and we started to see the results change. I don't know why people think that they are special. Is everybody special? My mommy tells me I'm special. For the most part, bodies, in terms of what they need to achieve a goal like strong and defined, you're really not that special. You might have certain special circumstances where working with somebody like a registered dietitian could be, something that really comes in clutch for you. But I don't know why people think I'm the one exception. I don't need to eat the protein. I'm the one exception. I don't need to drink the water. I'm the one exception. I don't need to eat the carbs. It's like, no, this is how you play the game. If you don't want to play the game, don't expect to win at the game. It's about meeting yourself where you're at. If you have been hanging out on the I eat clean train for long enough and you're realizing my results have stalled, we have to get more specific about, well, where could we, pinpoint things down a little bit more? You need that protein to build a muscle. You need the carbs for the energy. You need the fats for hormone regulation. You need all of these different pieces. You can't get around it. If you're trying to get around it and you're wondering, why don't I have this body yet? It's because you are not doing the things required for the body. And sometimes you just have to meet yourself where you're at. You might be somebody who wants strong and defined, and you might be somebody who, is ready to do some more of the strategic work because you haven't been eating, super ultra processed, junk food all the time. But maybe there's other things that you need to work on first, like eating enough. I know a lot of people, and it's just like, you want strong and defined, but you eat once a day. You forget to eat. We can't forget to eat. Things need to be laid out. Again, this isn't like a matter of pick and choose. You want to pick and choose, understand that this is the reason as to why you have yet to achieve the goal. Or maybe this isn't like the main reason, but this is part of the reason. So if you're not quite ready to be super specific, tracking the macros, hitting enough protein, enough carbs, enough fat to achieve this look through your nutrition, if you're not ready to commit to training 4 times a week on a progressive training program, if you're not ready to commit to this stuff, That's okay. It's not to say you won't be ready to do it one day if this is what you want and this is what's required. But what are the pieces you could start to focus on? What are the habits you could begin to pick up that you are willing to adapt to, knowing that this is going to be part of who I need to become to achieve what it is I want to achieve? Maybe it's just starting to become aware of how much protein. It's not even hitting the number. It's just, I'm going to become aware. How much am I getting? Maybe it's not a matter of, I'm doing all of this volume in my workouts, but I'm going to start to get really good at squats. I'm going to start to love squats. There was a time I fucking hated squats. I was like, I'm going to avoid this exercise as much as I can. And I avoided them so much that my quads became one of the weakest muscle groups in my body. And I had to flip the switch. And I had to start thinking, well, how is my body going to change once I start to learn to embrace this? When I started thinking, if you could be really good at squats, your glutes are going to get stronger, your quads are going to get stronger, we're going to develop more muscles there, it's going to improve these other lifts of yours. I was like, great, bring on the squats. I am ready to rock and roll. Sometimes we just need to refocus our mind to understand, I got to do what I got to do. And sometimes what is required, we're ready for it. And other times we're not. And that's okay if we're not ready. But what can we do in the present moment to be ready for what's required one day? You get what I'm saying? And for strong and defined, it's not even just about hitting the right workouts. Like lifting as a whole, it's not enough to just pick up a weight and put it down. If you are trying to build more muscle, you are going to be doing more exercises focused in that 8 to 12 rep range. You are probably going to be focusing more so on split days. You're going to do compound exercises. You might do some exercises that are done a little bit more in isolation. There's nuance to it. It's not just, I'm going to show up to the gym and lift some weights and see what happens. Could you make some progress that way? I'm not going to say you can't. I think a random approach, depending on where you're at and what your expectation is, can work to some extent, but you are not going to make progress the way somebody who's doing it very strategically is. And it's the same with food. It's hitting the macros. It's also hitting the timing. I've had this conversation with people where they're just like, I want to save my calories. I want to save my calories until it's, after dinner so I can get cozy on the couch and watch Netflix and, eat whatever it is I want to eat. And it's just like, babe, that's not the play. You want to have energy all throughout the day. You want to space your protein all throughout the day. You want to eat before you train so you have more energy so you can fucking demolish the workout. You want to have food after you work out to help speed up the recovery process. It's not pick and choose. You don't get to decide. You are told this is how you play the game, and you either decide I'm going to show up to the table and I'm going to play the motherfucking game, or you don't play the game. At the end of the day, this is not about being perfect, but it is understanding there is precision when the goal becomes more specific. And when you're ready for that next level that requires more specificity, you do have to show up consistently and do the best you can with the energy you have access to. And know that, if it's a struggle bus, it might take a little bit longer. There might be some other things that you have to do along the way. And that's okay. But eventually, so long as you do follow the plan and you are consistent, change will absolutely happen. You can do this if you are willing to do what is required. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Make sure you give us a follow so you never miss an episode.